Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
Who's accountable for this? There has to be some accountability. Basically, what the OEB is saying is there's no record of inspections, no record of asset management. That is a huge deal.
What was something you did before this pandemic that you missed and you wish you could do again?
Before pandemic, we can greet anyone, even if it's a stranger. It wasn't. There was not a single ounce of doubt. Like whether to shake, handshake, or to hug, it wasn't a big deal.
Well, we have a working cat program, a barn buddy program. We recently promoted them as managers of rodent relations. And really what these cats are cats who aren't looking for the traditional couch life.
Thanks for joining us. ELK Energy is facing a fine for not keeping proper records of its inspections. The electrical utility provider, which serves Essex, Lakeshore, and Kingsville, isn't new to facing criticism. Some customers say they've regularly been dealing with unusual power flickers and outages, sometimes damaging their property. Some local leaders have been calling for accountability for months. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us live in studio now with more. Jason, what does this new finding against ELK really mean?
Well, this all comes from the Ontario Energy Board, which oversees ELK Energy. It's a $5,000 fine that comes with ELK saying it will voluntarily comply with this decision, which means they commit, they say, to performing regular ongoing inspections of its system and maintaining proper records. But for the Refac Welding Company in Harrow, they're growing frustrated because they say the power outages and flickers still continue to this day. Since 2013, the company claims they've had to pay $142,000 out of pocket to repair or replace equipment damaged by the power going off and on again in short periods of time. The bulk of that was for welding machines. The company started keeping detailed notes each time a power outage happened, but they say they've stopped in recent years after growing frustrated. Nothing is changing.
That's furious. Every time the power flickers, it's like you do this. Oh my gosh, now what? Now what? And I don't think people understand that when you have a power flicker, everything in your plant shuts down at the same time and comes right back on at the same time. And that's impossible. You can't expect anything but something to go wrong. Shouldn't have a fine. Because you want to know why we shouldn't have a fine? Because if you did your job, we wouldn't be in this situation today. If you did your job that we as taxpayers paid you to do, there would be reports in the file. So if you're not doing your reports and you're not doing your job, so what do you do over there that we pay for? Because I'll tell you right now, if we offered the same service to our customers that ELK provides to us, we wouldn't be in business. Because we don't get what we pay for, but on top of that, we have to absorb the losses because everybody washes their hands and goes, not our problem. So what do you do?
And Jason, the frustration is so obvious in her voice there. And we know that this has been an ongoing problem in the community, but we also know that the issue has become political as well. So what are you hearing from local leaders?
Well, Sherry Bondi is a councillor for the town of Essex and has been pushing for accountability from ELK for a while now. She calls this latest finding from the Ontario Energy Board concerning and wants to see a full investigation conducted into ELK from an outside firm.
If you don't have checks and balances, you don't know what state your assets are in, and you don't know where to put funding. So that's a question now is it's almost like this is the Titanic, and can the Titanic be turned around in time? Do we even know what we're dealing with right now? We have no clue what we're dealing with. And even if repairs have been made and promises have been made in the last 6 months, we still don't have a full picture of what this utility is worth and what kind of shape it's in.
Jason, what is ELK Energy saying about all this?
Well, I emailed the company's CFO, who has responded to our inquiries in the past and was told he's no longer employed there. But I did receive a response from the new CFO, who says there's a new management team as of the fall of last year. They say this penalty is based on what they call a non-formalized approach to inspections before October of last year. Here's a bit more from that statement. They say, further, 1/3 of our service area was inspected in December 2021 as required by the OEB. We are committed to providing safe, reliable electricity. ELK's statement also made specific mention of Councillor Sherry Bondi, who we just heard from, and that she released incorrect statements and is providing negative comments about ELK. CBC News reached back out to see specifically what statements and comments they were referencing, and they didn't directly respond to those questions. But this really underscores the ongoing tensions that have been growing between ELK and Councillor Bondi for some time.
Thanks for this, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live in studio for us tonight. And let's turn now to a grim milestone. We've been in this pandemic for 2 years now. Windsor, Essex, facing waves of the deadly virus, which is still a threat today. The CBC's Chris Ensing now with a look back at the early response to this generational event.
We start with the first signs of loss. The National Basketball Association canceling games after players tested positive for the novel coronavirus.
These 22 staff members are self-isolating.
By the end of the week, dozens of people were isolating from Windsor's first suspected case of COVID-19.
At first, we didn't know what to do, so we washed our hands and sang happy birthday while also going to the store and stocking up on our essential supplies. A lot of us grabbed a lot of toilet paper. It was our first lesson in the supply chain. But the other big thing was masks. At first, we were told not to wear them until the science evolved. That decision, the back and forth, has sowed seeds of doubt still present to this day.
The advice was constant and consistent.
Practice social distancing.
That was how we would flatten that curve. Schools sending home kids for March break, coming back to virtual classrooms. Murals to mark those made heroes by this oncoming crisis. Convoys conveying support. Honking for healthcare workers. A community rallying in the face of a deadly new reality. What happened over the last 2 years is horrific. Hundreds of people died of a virus that exposed our society at its weakest points. Change has been promised to protect the people who bared the worst of this. Seniors in congregate living settings, farm workers crammed in bunkhouses, and burnt-out healthcare workers who continue to face this crisis head-on. 2 years later, what did we learn from this? There's some lessons here from a mother of 3 who used social media to help connect people to campers to isolate.
I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. And there's so many big problems out there. So like the small stuff is not something to be upset about. Just kind of let it go and move on and realize like you have a gift being here.
From a woman who gave birth during a pandemic.
As long as you have people that love and support you, that's all that matters. And even if those people you don't agree with what they're doing, they're still family.
And a student from India who made Windsor home in the middle of a global health crisis.
Times are unpredictable, but not everything decided will happen. The situation is so we gotta just be hopeful. Even if the bad times are there, there's a hopeful light.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Russia escalated its attack on Ukraine today, hitting targets in the western part of the country from the air. Russian ground forces again moved to encircle the capital, Kyiv, and intensify pressure on Mariupol and other besieged cities. 300 kilometers to the northwest, Russian forces conducted 3 airstrikes on the central city of Dnipro. Emergency services say that 1 person was killed and that the strikes were close to an apartment building and a nursery. They also released footage showing crews extinguishing fires at what appears to be the site of a shoe factory. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has wrapped up his 5-day trip to Europe. And while there, he visited Britain, Germany, Latvia, and Poland and met with leaders about helping Ukraine and increasing pressure on Russia to end its invasion. Travis Danraj has more.
The Prime Minister announced new sanctions against 5 former Russian senior officials and associates of the regime today. He says all have been complicit in the invasion. They include a notable name who until now has evaded consequences, Roman Abramovich, whose assets have been frozen.
This is part of us moving together with allies around the world on demonstrating clear and deep consequences for Putin and those who have enabled his regime.
On the millions trying to flee the war zone, Trudeau spoke with refugees in Warsaw yesterday. He says Canada is stepping up and is not ruling out potential airlifts.
We know how important it is to be there to support people fleeing. The connection between Ukraine and Canada is deep, goes back decades, over a century. After attacks by Russian forces on multiple hospitals and the increasing threat of a chemical or nuclear attack, the Prime Minister says diplomatic channels remain open to the Kremlin. This week's show of unity and increasing sanctions that have pushed the Russian economy to the brink will continue to be the West strategy moving forward. We have seen the collapse of the Russian economy, the collapse of the ruble, the shutdown continually of the Russian stock exchange.
Trudeau says at this point there is no win for Putin, and as pressure increases, the war rages on, the deaths mount. Potential off-ramps for a climb down from the Kremlin hard to see on the horizon. Travis Stanrash, CBC News, Warsaw.
Back to local news now. It's been a long journey for former Paralympic swimming champion Danielle Campo-McLeod. She was in critical condition last September when she went into septic shock after childbirth. After 6 weeks at a London hospital, she returned to Windsor for rehabilitation. This month, she says she's had her final surgery, which will hopefully close this chapter in her life.
Everything's been going really good. I had surgery on March 3rd. And so I had an ileostomy reversal surgery, and it was kind of like the final closure to this long journey that we've been on. And so it's extremely painful, and but I'm just grateful that it was able to be done, and it was a perfect surgery with no complications.
Campo-McLeod says she's in the final stages of healing and is looking forward to the summer, adding that she's getting stronger and stronger every day. The concept of looking for a job is nothing new, but there is now a group of Windsorites looking for work with a very specific set of guidelines. These job seekers will only work the late shift, only want a job in pest control, and whoever hires them must provide food and lodging. Ashta Shetty has the tale.
This particular group of job seekers are barn cats. They're hoping job offers pour in at the local humane society. These feisty felines would not be suited to life indoors, so they're looking for work at barns, farms, or garages. I had some questions, but I had to approach with caution.
So what kind of skills do you bring to the table?
He's not the friendliest fella, but that's the point. Cats in the Barn Buddy program don't have a lot of history living indoors with people. Lemon here, for instance, has not been properly socialized and was rescued from a hoarding situation. For cats like him, finding work outdoors will give them a new chance at life.
Sometimes it's related to a litter box issue, so those guys are much more social. They just are not good at thinking inside the litter box. We sometimes have cats that just have a really high prey drive, and if they're kept inside, it's really hard to direct that energy appropriately, and sometimes they end up biting and scratching more than is comfortable or manageable for most people.
Cats who have found work outdoors through this program have gone on to become essential workers in their new home. For example, Cheddar and Bree. They're still kittens and new to the job. They work at a local horse stable as resident mouse catchers. Their coworker says they're a key part of the team.
Especially because we have a variety of different feeds, like our horse feed, goats. We also have some bunnies. So the farm attracts a lot of rats and mice. So they definitely play a really big role in that. And then they also serve the dual purpose of being therapy cats as well. So we do have a lot of clients who will come into the barn for session, and they love playing with the cats.
Cats in the Barn Buddy program can be taken home with no adoption fee, but a donation is requested. There are currently 8 cats in the Barn Buddy program. Ashta Shetty, CBC News, Windsor.
I mean, who wouldn't want to hire one of those cute little buddies? That's a great story from Ashta there. Live look outside. We got some snow today and more snow is on the way. Celeste DeCare will be here with your weekend weather right after the break. This Sunday at 2 in the morning marks the beginning of daylight saving time, a day when we spring our clocks ahead 1 hour, making sunrise and sunset each 1 hour later. Now, not everyone is a fan of the practice, and some places have even done away with it altogether. CBC's Mike Evans hit the streets to see how Windsorites feel about the upcoming change.
Daylight savings time is very annoying, I find. I find that my schedule is all messed up, and I just feel like I don't know time anymore. The concept of time is just gone for me. I always feel like I'm waking up late or I'm not waking up early enough.
For me, it doesn't really matter. I would actually be okay either way.
How would you feel if Ontario just did away with it one day?
I would be okay with it. It would be fine, I guess. Some people have a hard time adjusting sometimes, so I see the reason why they are looking to change it, but I'm okay either way.
I'm a little indifferent towards daylight savings time, but the history of it is kind of conflicted between people living in the city and people living in the county from what I've read in history.
Has it ever messed up your schedule or your life in any way when we had to spring ahead or fall back?
Other than trying to figure out how to work the clock in my car, no, not really.
I feel like it's a waste of time, pretty literally. It kind of messes with the sleep schedule. Everybody gets a little bit discombobulated, right? We definitely don't need it in our lives. I don't think it's doing us any good.
Has it ever messed you up in the past, like your schedule or anything? Have you ever been late because of it?
Definitely not late. I try and be as punctual as possible, but definitely the sleep schedule is the worst part of it, right? Growing up an athlete and stuff like that, your sleep is definitely very important to you, right? So as soon as you lose an hour or gain an extra hour, you're going to bed a little bit later. It's a little bit tough, right?
This is a good time to bring in Celeste DeCare with a look at your weather this weekend and beyond.
Well, there's a major snowstorm that's making its way across eastern Canada today, but it seems as though Windsor is going to avoid most of it. It's going to impact more so eastern Ontario and southern Quebec, but certainly there are some flurries in the forecast tonight for the region. The weekend, however, is looking a little mixed. Sunday is looking like some flurries in the forecast. Saturday, more so a mix of sun and cloud. And then at the end of next week, we are looking like some double-digit days, which means we are closer to spring. Not too bad. Alrighty, here's a quick look ahead at some temperatures. 8 o'clock tonight, we're looking at a high of 0. Overnight conditions will drop down just slightly, looking at a low of -9 early tomorrow morning. And then at 8 in the morning, mix of sun and cloud, and a high of -8. Okay, there's that major system that's making its way through. Again, avoiding most of the Windsor region, not going to get a whole bunch of snow. There's Windsor right there, looking how this system's going to play out. Overnight into Saturday morning, looking like some cloud coverage, possibly some flurries overnight, but nothing too heavy. Into Saturday afternoon, peaks of sunshine here and there. In the evening, similar conditions. And then into Sunday overnight, mix of sun and cloud there. Sorry, not sun, definitely not sun overnight, but definitely some cloudy conditions. And then early Sunday morning is where we're going to see some more flurries come into the region. A couple centimeters there. Sunday overall looking like a little bit of a cloudier day. And then into early Monday morning, some cloud coverage there as well. Now the winds aren't looking too bad for Windsor, rather on the calm side, nothing exceeding more than 30 kilometers an hour, so nothing to worry about there. Already overnight tonight, we're looking at a low of -9, and tomorrow mix of sun and cloud of high of -4. And then here's a look at your 3-day. We'll start there. Mix of sun and cloud on Saturday, high of -4. Sunday looking a little warmer with a high of 7. Some flurries there. Monday, off to a great start. Mix of sun and cloud. The rest of the week, looking bright, looking sunny, looking great. And those double digits, we cannot complain about that. Looking like Thursday is going to be the day for the warmest day of the week with 17. That's it for your weather.
And when we come back, we'll take a look at the return of some summer festivals. Stay with us. Welcome back. Everyone has a favorite candy. Well, a new store in Windsor is looking to satisfy your sweet tooth, bringing in treats from as far away as Dubai and Japan.
So the variety honestly ranges from cereals to cookies to frostings to baking mixes, candies, chocolates, sauces, chips. We honestly try to bring it all. So yeah, you'll notice a lot of these brand names are names that you've seen in the grocery market, but for some reason we don't get these special editions and different types of variations here in Windsor, or Canada I should say.
I seen their posting on Facebook, Ragu, so I was like, come straight here. They didn't have, they're almost sold out of everything. He said he was gonna restock, so we're here first day back. Before they're even open and buying a case of it.
It's been amazing, honestly. So we started off a year ago as online, and we were doing local deliveries around Windsor. And as we saw the need for it, everyone kept asking us if we have a storefront or not. So we decided it was about time to open one.
A lot of people want their favorite snacks that they used to be able to get so accessible, but they don't want to drive to the States just to get their box of cereal or their pack of cookies, you know what I mean? It just makes it more convenient. The fact that it's all under one roof, it's like even better.
I think it's really good.
It's going to be a great business because there's a few schools here. There's going to be a lot of students going here.
There's not a lot of exotic stores like this too. Like for Chubby's, I have to go all the way to Toronto for.
Here we like to bring everything that either you have seen as a kid and you can't get anymore that's retro, or we love to bring everything from overseas, whether it be Europe, South America, or Asia.
We were expecting more of the younger age group to be our biggest clientele, but we honestly seen it all. We've seen older people, younger people, middle age. I mean, everyone needs their snack fix, really, right?
I always knew that something like this was needed. I remember going to Toronto and seeing all these very cool candy stores, and I was like, wow, it was such a great experience to be able to choose and pick from so many new things. So I thought, why not offer that to the people of Windsor? And everyone here has been so great and so nice from coming in from day one. The support has been outstanding from everyone.
It is time to start planning for warmer weather. Many spring and summer festivals are making a return to the region this year. Most of them were canceled the last 2 years because of the pandemic.
We always knew that tourism was hit first, hit the hardest, and would take the longest to recover. And the sign that we're going to have now, the signal that it sends that we're going to have in-person events again, is another step forward to that path to reopening. We're certainly seeing the resurgence of the pillars, so to speak, of our festival community and network.
Those pillar events include the LaSalle Strawberry Festival, Art in the Park, Open Streets, and Festival of Birds. According to Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island, more than 35 events have been confirmed so far, and more are getting the green light every day. Organizers say they are hearing that the community is ready for these gatherings.
Right now, everything is a go. I think everyone is virtual and zoomed out. We did try our best, but there's nothing like the real thing. And we always say about Amherstburg Uncommon, expect the unexpected. There's always going to be the measures in place, the social distancing. I think that is just part of the makeup of the world right now, and there's plenty of space being an outdoor event in our beautiful parks.
We had a return last week to the Capitol Theatre. We had 3 days of films, just really as a pilot test to see, again, where's the audience at and what's their comfort level. And the audience response was fantastic. We had over 600 people join us for those screenings of all those Oscar-nominated films, which was really great. And the feedback we got was we want to come back at the right pace, in the right way that makes us feel safe. But the response was a resounding, we're grateful to be back and thank you for putting this on for us. And also that we feel comfortable with this. Let's take it a step at a time, but let's come back.
WIF Under the Stars was one event that came out of COVID restrictions, but the organization says it's unsure if it will plan it again this year. Island Unplugged and the Tecumseh Corn Festival won't return this year. They were called off earlier due to anticipated COVID-19 restrictions. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/Windsor. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night and a wonderful weekend.